back, everybody. Thanks for joining me in the record room today. Welcome to the channel. If you are new here, thought I would jump on with a bit of a quick tribute to reggae singer Delroy Williams. The news came out he had sadly passed away May 31st of 2024. A singer maybe not known to very many. He delivered at least one classic roots reggae LP, plus a couple of follow-ups, unfortunately not in my collection. But a singer, an artist forever associated with the great Augustus Pablo, who produced his most well-known works. Williams was part of the extended Rockers collective of artists, musicians that Pablo assembled. Delroy Williams was born in 1948 in the parish of Westmoreland, Jamaica. As a child, he would move to the capital city of Kingston with his mother. He would grow up in Denham Town there. He would discover Rastafari at quite a young age. The faith would guide the course of his life thereafter. He would form his first vocal group in the 1960s, inspired, as so many other Jamaican groups were, by US soul groups, particularly the Impressions. And this would be a group called the Afro Tones, sometimes spelt Afri Tones with an I, along with singers Ricky Grant, lifelong friend of Delroy's, who actually broke the news of Williams' passing on social media, and George Allison, who had a very distinctive Curtis Mayfield-inspired, high, soulful, falsetto voice, quite similar to Junior Murvin of Police and Thieves fame in some places. Junior Murvin probably inspired by Curtis Mayfield as well. The Afrotones would do a few early recordings for producer Sonia Pottinger, after which Ricky Grant would depart, his place apparently taken by Shirley Forbes. The group would then move over to Coxsone Dodd's Studio One, where Dodd would rechristen them as the Mad Lads. There was already an American R&B group by that name. Perhaps that was to emphasize the very soulful nature of the material they were performing in the late rocksteady, very early reggae years of the late 1960s. At Studio One, the group would record a series of 45s, 7-inch singles. They would never release an LP, but perhaps their most well-known song was a Curtis Mayfield and the Impressions cover, 10 to 1 by the Mad Lads, with George Allison on lead. There's a 1971 pressing on the Coxsone label, UK press, I believe. Coxsone, a Studio One label. Their most well-known song, the rhythm of which has been used many times over the years. The song itself also sometimes covered. That song can be found on some Studio One compilations, including Studio One Lovers, 10 to 1 by the Mad Lads. One of their other notable songs was the somewhat jauntier You'll Never Know, and on that song, Delroy Williams would take lead. That song, meanwhile, can be found on Studio One Groups, the Mad Lads with You Will Never Know, but the group never delivered an LP, never got that opportunity, and in time, Shirley Forbes would apparently depart to America, which would cause the group to dissolve.
Now you know we break your heart and then take And that's the time you realize that it's a boy that calls you stride. Loving him meant the world to you. Now he's gone and said it true.
An early 7-inch pressing of 10 to 1 by the Mad Lads had also seen another name change to the Highlights. However, with the group no more, Delroy, who had grown in confidence and experience in his musical abilities during his time at Studio One, would decide to forge on ahead as a solo artist, as would George Allison. I do have one solo side by George from 1980, 12-inch single called Sister Love on the Gibbous label. I believe that's George Allison's own label. And this is from the Sound System collection of Lord Shelley's Disco, with a writing credit to the Mad Lads, former Mad Lad George Allison. Delroy, meanwhile, would release one of his first solo sides, also at Studio One, appearing on their Ironside imprint. Kudos to Studio One researcher Carl Finley for bringing up this song in his tribute to Delroy Williams. Had me searching around in my archives. Unfortunately, it has not been compiled as yet, but fortuitously, I do have a bunch of rare Studio One sides on CDR compilations from 20 years ago. CDR, this one's called Dr. Bionic's Music Lab, and Volume 8 has Delroy Williams' early solo side, Let Them Stay, in which his achingly emotional lyrics seem to resign himself to saying farewell to friends, allowing them to go their way while he has to push on ahead on his own way. It's a song of saying farewell and of having to be true to your own self and what you feel is your own destiny, and letting go of those who maybe don't share the same vision as you, or even perhaps don't wish you well at all. Let Them Stay by Delroy Williams, very early solo side.
No one knows where I'm going. No one knows my trouble. No one tried to help me. They just turned me away.
Following his time at Studio One, Delroy Williams would do some work with singer and producer Dave Robinson. However, by the mid-70s, he had found his way into the orbit of the enigmatic, mysterious, and mystical Augustus Pablo, musician and producer who had organized a family of similarly Rastafarian-oriented musicians and artists around him into a crew called Rockers. And Delroy Williams would become part of the Rockers family, along with Ricky Grant, his old friend. The two reunited under the umbrella of Augustus Pablo and the Rockers organization. Delroy's first song with Pablo would be released around 1976, and it would be an anthem of Black pride, self-determination, and resilience against oppression, a song called I Stand Black. Further sides by Delroy Williams, produced by Augustus Pablo, would continue to appear over the next few years. Though Delroy was never a prolific artist, these were all of a high standard, with time and care put into the lyrics, meaning put into the words he was singing, and feeling into the way that he sang them. These would include songs like Think Twice, a cautionary tale of considering the repercussions of your words and actions. It's a 12-inch single of Delroy Williams' Think Twice on the heavyweight no entry rhythm from the Only Roots reissue series from several years back. 12-inch single backed with Babylon Boy, another Delroy Williams song. They would include Mountaintop, The Joyful Ja Children Love, Little Less Talking, We Need a Lot More Love, Can't You See? And the intense Foxhole. Foxes have their holes and the birds have their nest, but the Son of Man don't have no place to rest his head from the burning sun. All highly considered roots classics, steeped in Augustus Pablo's mystical rockers sound. Finally, in 1982, some of the best of these would appear as Delroy Williams' debut album, I Stand Black. It would appear a couple of years later on this Canadian pressing through Shanachie Records. The label is Augustus Pablo's Message. This includes full lyrics on the back, kind of unusual for a reggae album. Shows that the label believed in this music, in the message contained in the songs, produced by Augustus Pablo, again containing all these songs that had been recorded for Augustus Pablo over the preceding few years. Crucial, another one from Delroy Williams included on here. It's been reissued a number of times over the years. The Only Roots label itself reissued it several years back. I used to have that copy. Must have been before I found this 1984 press. I've since passed that on, but there's also an expanded CD version on Macca Sound. Delroy Williams' I Stand Black, with some additional tracks not present on the LP, some extended 12-inch mixes, classic roots reggae LP, part of Augustus Pablo's rockers story, and deeply embedded in the rockers sound. Delroy Williams would record a couple more albums a few years later in the late 1980s. After that, he would apparently emigrate to the United States. He is now sadly passed on and joined the greats in Zion. Rest easy, Delroy Williams. Hope you've enjoyed this tribute, guys. Cheers, and thanks for watching.